Welcome to Exchange with Charles de Tournay. Born in Brittany, France, Charles started his career as a traditional gardener in Japan. He speaks 6 languages, has climbed 25 volcanoes, raised 3 kids, all with 1 wife. He describes himself as an optimist and believes that we always have a choice. But was he just lucky? Or did he learn it hard way? Let's find out. Welcome, Charles. You're a turnaround manager. That means you often intervene when a company is in crisis and the change is the only way forward. But what do you do in practice? How do you provoke this much needed change?
Well, it's very easy actually. The way you tell it is easy. The way you implement it is just very difficult. But when you come into an organization and a team, basically we're talking about people here, they're disoriented, and the crisis is the result of many years sometimes of no communication, no definition of a target for the entire group, or just not sharing a common story. So when you jump into this crisis, the first thing you have to learn a lot, to listen to the people and to try to understand what they have in their mind and how much disoriented they are. So then you have to connect with your own goals, or the goals that you're given by private or equity fund or whatever, and you have to make the consistency between those goals you're given to, because this is your job, that's your stake, and the way you create a new alignment of the energies of the people. So once you're done, you have to decide, okay, the target together, where we are going to, all together, it's going this way. And we're doing that because. So you need to buttress why you select this target. And once you're able to make people adhere to this common objective, then I think a lot of things are done already. Of course, you need to understand if all the other parameters, the environment, the business growth, the kind of perception as well, all the other stakeholders have in their mind. But if you apply the same technique with other people, like suppliers or like bankers or like lawyers, I think that most of the time you can unbalance the crisis and start a new growing process.
And that's interesting because I personally always thought turnaround would be a lot about going to the assets, see what asset you can turn around and use. But what you are saying is actually this communication and human element is also very important.
That's the key element. You know, what you're talking about, for instance, cash is king during a turnaround. It's just a technique. So it's a strategy. But the main element for me is where do you want to go, the people to go to. That's the main point. And basically, so the job consists in every single decision you make, you need to well understand the best way to do it and the least consuming resource way to do it. So basically it's a lot of considering different options and making fast choices, and always telling what you're doing, where you go to the people, to make sure that the decision you take, even sometimes you have to dismiss some people, it's a good decision.
Yeah, it's not an easy one.
It's not an easy one, yeah, but everybody understand if it's well thought, if it's well buttressed. You don't need to understand as it has to be good for every single one. It has to be good for the whole group itself. So sometimes you need to cut your hand or one finger. That's life.
Indeed. And speaking about casualties, you told me that you yourself also failed a couple of times. You even had some exotic projects such as connected bra. So can you tell us about those and what have you learned from them?
Well, so you mentioned the connected bra. So here it was developing a bra, woman bra, wearing some sensors inside, and those sensors were able to monitor the heart speed, for instance, the heart rate, the breathing speed as well, and some other elements like that. So we were just getting out data out of this bra and passing that to a digital platform. So that was an IoT, Internet of Things bra. So we spent, I think it's $500,000 in this venture, and we failed. So we never found a market. We were able to discuss properly with hospitals or with cancer operating doctors. They were finding the solution, technically speaking, very interesting, but in the end, no market because it was just too expensive. And we even tried to raise some money in the US by collecting money, from the general audience. But once again, it was just a failure because I was able to raise, I think, $2,000. So,
what did you learn from that?
You can try, of course. So failure is part of trying. You have the right to try. You have the right to fail, and just make sure that you're not going to die with a failure.
In your profession, you went through so many changes, so many different experiences. Can you tell us about one project that maybe marked you the most?
So at that time I was a salaryman, so working for groups or independent companies, and I wanted to make something on my own. My father, who is an entrepreneur as well, told me that, okay, maybe you have now 5 years, it's the time for you to try something on your own. And so he lent me some money and he said to me, okay, try to buy a company. And so I looked for one. I was chasing, in terms of business, something adventurous in an area which is unusual. One was in the professional diving, scuba diving, located in Corsica.
And you actually moved to Corsica?
And we moved to Corsica, with the whole family. But that was a very tough experience because Corsican guys are very strong-minded. And if you come from the metropole area, they try to kick you out, basically. So I faced very tough guys. I had a bump that was splitting my company. I was personally as well, how would I say that, under the pressure of a gun, for instance, on one time. A lot of kind of ideas, and in the end it resulted in the fact that I had to move within 48 hours with my whole family to put ourselves at secure situation. And then I had to come back the next 2 years by just hiding myself, trying not to be pinpointed, and I managed the company for 2 years like that.
How did you handle so much pressure?
I tended to withdraw within myself because, when you have a lot of enemies outside and a lot of odds against you, you tend to withdraw. And I had a time, I think it lasted maybe 6 months or 1 year. I was going all the time to the mountains, all the time climbing alone, trying to face danger as well. I think I wanted to make sure that I was still living, right? But after this, things went back. I found a proper balance, and then I started to interact with other people. I went back to Corsica just 2 years ago for the first time after 10 years. And once again, I met there people who are very lovely, who are open-minded when you're not just taking care of their business, right? So that's okay, I forgave.
What advice can you give to people who may be going through change right now?
Well, changing is, of course, not an easy way to handle things, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary. If you want to go for a change, you need to be sure that your anchoring points are very well understood. So make sure that this is what you want. There is a way of doing that. It's taking time, resting, getting rid of all communications, all hints from the outside, to think about who you are and what you believe in. Once you're done with that, once you can write, okay, I believe in this and that, and usually there are not too many things to mention, you can go forward with a strength which is just great.
I know you're quite an adventurous person, and you also do some extreme sports. So do you have a story of an unexpected adventure, a change, and maybe a funny one?
Well, for instance, in the Philippines one time, I wanted to climb the Pinatubo. So that's a volcano that erupted, I think it was 1992. And I went there in 1995, and I wanted to go over there to see how the landscape changed over the years. And I wanted to do that by night because I learned in a guidebook where that you could not go there without the help of guides. And I wanted to do it on my own. So I went by night, maybe midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, just to make sure that the villages I would cross would be sleeping. But I forgot about dogs. And so when I passed by, of course, all the dogs started to bark. So I got caught by villagers. So I had to sleep in the village, in a hut where in the end I happened to get the rash. Then we started to walk in the morning, 5, 6 or 7, when the sun was starting to light. Then we walked for, 10 hours, 15 hours, I can't remember, honestly. We were just fighting birds to eat. But in the end, we never found the summit. That was a total failure. That was a failure because they were not just knowing where it was. Simple as that. I was just upset, right? But in the end, that was a funny story. So you can have some misadventures in the end, resulting in funny experiences.
Maybe let's change the subject now to something more serious. I know you currently work for Handicap International, that is now called Humanity and Inclusion, an NGO, but you also have a personal story related to this subject. Can you share?
Yeah, so I have 2 brothers who are very strongly ill because they're myopathics guys, so that means that their body and their muscles cannot work properly. So they're basically on a rolling chair for almost their entire life. And my parents always decided to keep them at home, even though there was a lot of pressure of my grandparents, their own brothers and sisters, to place my brothers within dedicated hospitals or organizations, and they refused all the time. And I take that after so many years observing their fight, and they're still alive today, the result of that. So my brothers, for instance, they're bright guys, they're speaking several languages. One of my brother was used to be a champion in chess, for instance. The other one is writing a lot of books in poetry. And in the end, they're almost 50 years old now, and they're the longest guys bearing their disease in France. So when I see that fighting for something which is against the odds actually proves to be very positive, and it gives me a lot of energy.
That's an inspiring story indeed. But let's go back to your work. Now you work for Humanity International. That also includes many other areas now, such as protection against violence, such as governmental policies on inclusion, and you're responsible for finance for the entire African continent. What kind of challenges do you face in your job?
We have a lot of growth, unfortunately, because needs are growing. So how do you face with such a hint towards growth without just losing yourself as well? Because getting people inside the board, including them properly, developing the processes, diffusing as well the tools and the ways of properly doing jobs. It's not so easy. So that's basically my job, making the organization proper and make sure as well that the teams can get along with the growth without too damage.
Where did you find time to do everything that you just described?
You start early and you go to bed late. It's 7 days a week.
And how do you find a balance between so much professional pressure and also private life? Because you do have 3 children, that is a challenge by itself.
Well, my wife first is an excellent element for balance. You use the word pressure. I don't have pressure actually. I don't feel pressure because I know that if everything's bad, don't forget that I had 1 chapter 11, so I know what it is. You are not going to die. I had 2 brothers who are ill. They're still there. You're not going to die. So no pressure. There is no pressure. You just need to take advantage of every single positive element that you can find on the way to, and you can fulfill yourself.
So my final question. Imagine it was in your power to change one thing in the world to make it a better place. What would you change?
Yeah, well, I would say we were discussing earlier, try to know what is your value or what is your anchoring point. I would say that if I had the ability to give to people this power, I would do that.
So everybody knows what
Yeah.
their deepest belief is.
Yeah.
What is yours?
Mine, others.
Great.
I wish you to always keep your positive spirit that make every change possible. Thank you, Charles.